Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wizard and the Bruiser. I'm the Wizard, Holden McNeely.
And I'm the Bruiser, Jake Young.
Whoa, nuts!
Do you remember? I mean, you can't. You physically can't. But the year was 1979. None of us was alive. But something amazing happened. A very depressed Japanese man had an idea. What if there was a television show, a cartoon, featuring cool robots and fun battles that also reflected the horrors of modern warfare?
When can I immediately watch all of it? Is there hundreds of episodes of it? Please.
Maybe 40 years worth of episodes of it. That little series was called Mobile Suit Gundam, and it has branched out and influenced so much shit over the years and is kind of just one of the biggest cultural exports Japan has ever created.
It is unbelievably huge. Where do I have this here? For Bandai Namco, it is a 50 billion yen business.
Now, obviously, you have to knock that down a bit because I think a halfpenny is 1 yen in the current conversion rate.
I believe so. I believe that just comes out to about $10.
It's a tippins.
There's so much here, Jake. I had no idea. I just wanted to preface this with I had to do a Gundam crash course this past week.
I'm so sorry.
It is mind-blowing. Well, it's a world I've always been interested in. I've always wanted to know more about Gundam. And I'm a big Neon Genesis Evangelion fan, so I'm definitely like no stranger to the mech.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is unbelievable, Jake.
So it's revolutions on top of revolutions because, like, when you think of, like, Japanese robots, like, you kind of think of, like, Voltron. You think of, like, the Megazord. Mm-hmm. You think of maybe Gigantor if you're my dad.
Big Fun Machine Man.
If you imagine someone shooting their fist with a little rocket,
Yep.
that was a genre called Super Robot.
Super Robot category of anime and manga. It started with Mitsuteru Yokoyama's 1956 manga Tetsujin 28 Go, later made into an anime in 1963 and released abroad as Gigantor. Oh, wow. You guys know the theme song?
Oh, it's catchy. It's the best song about a robot from the 1950s you could possibly sing.
And these were controlled by remote control, so we don't have humans inside of the robots yet. Is that correct?
It would be usually by remote control, and usually it would just be like this tiny little kid in short pants, like those really uncomfortable short pants that was like the you know what I'm talking about when you see a kid in old-timey times and he's got way too short pants.
Astro Kid pants.
I'm not Googling any of that,
Just
all right?
Google uncomfortable tiny boy pants. Open your phone apps. I know the podcast will keep playing. I want all of you to open your windows.
The genre was largely defined by author Go Nagai and his more fantastical Mazinger Z.
Oh, yeah. So, so there was all fantastical, kind of bulbous, like they were just these like goofy mascot-y things. And what Gundam did is they introduced what they would become the real robot genre.
I laughed out loud when I read that statement on Wikipedia or whatever website I was on, where it said, yes, these were the, what Gundam did was made the realistic, massive super robot.
Oh, I mean, shit, we got to get into that. So, yeah, it was the real robot genre where, like, it was, it was the idea that these are actual machines used in warfare that have moving parts and actual science behind it.
They tried to base it on some real-ass science, kind of like The Martian, for those of you mothers at home who need something to connect this to.
I don't know how it happened, but even after, we're not even through our second episode, #1 Cape Comedy Radio mom podcast.
Right? I can't believe it. So all you pregnant mothers out there, mothers-to-be and mothers of old, we want to thank you for listening.
This is okay, so this is what set it apart, because there was all these interfering factors. It was a cartoon. They had toy lines released.
Well, now, this is where I think I get really interested, right? Because there was a full season of the show, under my understanding, that happened, and then it got canned. Mm-hmm. And then the Bandai Namco put out the toy, and that's what revitalized the whole thing, and that's why we have the Gundam that we know today. The toy was so massively popular that they said, bring them back out. We need to sell more of these things.
So, yes, those are the key tensions of the entire series is, on the one hand, there's the toy manufacturers and the pop artists and the and all the merchandising and all the fanboys, because if you do we even have to explain, like, it's a giant bold white like fucking tank with like hard angles and like giant space boots in samurai armor with a giant shield, a massive laser rifle, and in case shit gets real, he has a fucking lightsaber, like a legit lightsaber that he pulls out of his back, and it's a fucking cool thing. And another thing they did is, the pilot, they're all piloted. So yes. In addition, that fucking rush, that fucking intense nerd rush when you see someone in like in a sci-fi movie or an anime or any other cartoon where they're just like pushing pedals and hitting like, oh no, initiate Omega Protocol, and there's like all those little flip up switches, and he has to go like.
Yeah, Pacific Rim was amazing.
Ruled.
Yeah, there would not be a Pacific Rim without Gundam.
Gundam. Damn it, Marcus.
That rush, that intensity, gears turning, that like pneumatic.
And it's like that Power Rangers, but wait, there's more scenario too, right? Where you think you got him down, and then he's going to pull out some badass new weapon that's more powerful than the last. Is that kind of a situation?
So there's this power fantasy, this rush, this fantastical, fucking cool shit that is like realistic robots,
little boy shorts,
and now in full pilot suits. This is a power fantasy, warp speed. Blowing up 800 bad guys with a wave of your beam rifle. But then, counter to that, is the fact that this series is just mired in death and suffering and war crimes and the futility of man and morality and like all these heavy-ass subjects. The reason why it got canceled in the first season, 1979-1980, is that audiences said it made them too depressed.
I blame Hiroshima.
That's it, though. This is going to be a common theme.
Yes.
Is Japan was doing really good with war.
Yes.
War was just a great thing, and then whoopsie, World War II happened, and we killed their god, kind of.
Oh, wait, what's up? It's an apocalypse for you. Yeah. And it is, it's always been said, like, Japan is the only post-apocalyptic society. They actually went through a version of an apocalypse, and that's why their culture is so bizarre with anime and things like that, and their strange adoption of American culture in the most extreme and kind of odd ways.
No, yes. They were a militarized uber state run by the emperor, and then we committed some pretty heinous shit.
I would say
arguable, whatever. That's a different show.
That's a super different show, Jake.
But then we were like, hey, whatever. We got chocolate.
Absolutely, we got chocolate.
So Gundam is full of just these massive scale. It's massive wars. Characters like there was a follow-up series is Gundam Zeta.
Yeah. Oh, how many series there are? How many timelines there are? Do you want to talk about timelines, sir?
We'll get into all of that, but like. Literally, the first follow-up after the original series ended, the main character entered a catatonic vegetable state, sitting in his Gundam because he had witnessed so much suffering and hated the idea of being glorified for it.
That is rock and roll, man. That is super cool. Maybe that's where I need to. You know what? Can you suggest an entry point for any of this that one should say, okay, this is the first episode or this is the first story arc of Gundam I should watch? Because I have no idea. I was watching the unicorn one for a little bit. It was in space and it had a unicorn like horn on it. I didn't know what the hell was going on, Jake.
So actually, this is actually what got me interested in talking about this. Is this past year a new miniseries was launched, and you can find it. I think on YouTube. There's like a few other places. Don't torrent. That's bad. Stealing's bad. Don't steal.
Would you steal a car, you bitches? Anyways, Jake, go on.
All my carjackers out there. It's called Gundam Thunderbolt, and it's incredibly well done. The animation is gorgeous. It takes place in the same Universal Century timeline as the original series. This is the big space war.
That's cool. Yes, the Universal Century timeline is the timeline, the standard timeline that the original series started with. Yes.
So it's a conflict in which the Earth Federation, the planet Earth, is at war with the Zeon Federation, which it represents various space colonies that wanted to rebel and decided that like they don't. It's the fact that that they're trying to be humans on Earth was holding them back. Space humans, best humans. Let's kill half the population of Earth, which happens in canon in the series. Anyway,
that's awesome.
Gundam Thunderbolt is kind of like this periphery side battle, kind of this enemy at the gates thing, where it's a Zeon stronghold, and you're following like a ragtag group of just scrubs, like just beaten down scrubs in the losing days of a war, and like you're kind of sympathetic to them. On the other side is an asshole hotshot pilot with like spiky blonde hair who loves hard bop jazz music. And he's piloting a spanking new Gundam, like a cool-ass Gundam. It has multiple shields. It has, like, cool jets. It's fucking badass. But from the perspective of the scrubs, it's just the angel of death.
Right.
It's fucking terrifying. It's like if someone shot a show about, like, Batman from the perspective of just like a goon in clown makeup that's just like, I just wanted to fucking feed my kids. Why is there a demon here?
Or like I always thought about, I always felt bad for the Foot Clan. And
yes, it's more like the
Turtles.
Foot Clan. It's more like the Foot Clan and just like they're watching their friends just get eviscerated by something they can't even comprehend.
Yeah, there's an amazing issue of The Invisibles that's all from the perspective of a henchman. You see his entire life up till the moment he gets killed as an afterthought by one of the main characters.
That's fantastic.
It's such a great issue.
I just want to state, too, going back to the original series, that the early title for it was Freedom Fighter Gunboy.
Oh, yes.
They actually got the name by putting the words gun and freedom together, deciding that early title was complete dog shit, and they came up with Gundam. But then they changed the O to an A, because Tomino, I believe that was one of the original designers, likened the gun to a dam that could hold back enemies.
Ah.
A lot of mumbo jumbo going on with those guys. They're making some odd choices, and I really appreciate them for it.
That's the thing is they actually aired the original Gundam series on on Toonami, which was a big part of my childhood.
Oh my God,
or
Toonami.
that weird in between, like 12
Yeah.
to 15.
Yeah, because I think I was
If you're not a nerd, 15 you were already like, I like to fuck now. But if you're a
Yeah.
nerd, 15 is still in between childhood.
I think I was smoking cigarettes for the first time and discovering Dragon Ball Z for the first time, right on Toonami. So.
We call that a North Carolina puberty.
Yes, absolutely. I'd run home. We'd do a really quick shot of Smirnoff 100 in my buddy's bedroom. Next to his snake. He had a big ball python. And then we go downstairs and we watch Dragon Ball Z and smoke cigarettes on the Black and Milds on the commercial breaks. And man, I was loving that time.
Yeah, me and my buddy would smoke, Swisher Sweets and watch Full Metal Jacket over and over again.
God. Which one would you pick, Jake?
Obviously, me and my friends would discuss our cosplay ideas whilst lighting up some sweet, tasty cloves. Jarums. Dejarums. So it's from the 70s and 80s. It's like real swinging. There's like foofy hair. It's tonally all over the place. Everyone's wearing go-go boots for some reason. But then people are just crying in each other's arms because their friends died.
And I do love that contrast. It is something, because I was trying to think, and maybe you guys can tell me. I was trying to look it up on some lame Google searches that just weren't working for me. But did the Transformers ever have a moment where they had something to say about war? Did G.I. Joe ever have a moment where they had something to say about war? I mean, this is our Gundam. Our Gundam, or at least not ours, but America's Gundam was Transformers, was G.I. Joe's, was action figure led television shows. I mean, they definitely had some like "don't do drugs, kids" messages and stuff like that. But I don't think they ever commented on the true horrors of the wars that they were taking part in.
At no point did Cobra Commander be like, genocide! This is genocide!
I think I'll try heroin because I can't deal.
Optimus Prime, you think you can stop us from getting the energon? So that was the core series, and anytime usually something wants to kind of harken back to that kind of more grim and gritty Gundam, they'll set it during that war. There's been a lot
Holy shit, there's a ton of timelines. Let's just get into it right here. I'm going to list a bunch off, and you tell me if it makes any sense to you. There's the Universal Century, which we talked about just now. There's also the Future Century, After Colony, After War, Correct Century, which I feel like is a bit of a jab at the other centuries. Cosmic Era, Anno Domini.
That's just AD. That means it takes place in our universe.
Oh.
That's a weird series that they've. That's actually only come out in the past few years. It was called Gundam Build Fighters.
Whoa.
And that was it's kind of like a fucking bullshit Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of, where it's not even about war. It's about kids living in the real world who collect Gundam models and build them and then fight them in like hologram battles. So it's kind of like, that weird genre of Japanese cartoon where it's like about the toy series that
right.
Except like but for much higher stakes.
That's insane. So it would essentially be like a show about kids with Transformers fighting them against each other.
Which
it's BattleBots.
Yeah, I'm sure it's existed.
There's also the Advanced Generation, the Reglid Century, and Post-Disaster. And I don't even think that's all of them. That's fucking bonkers. I mean, these are all, by the way, these are timelines that within each one, there are multiple series. I mean, I was baffled at just the sheer amount of episodes of this, of Gundam there are in total. It's like it's thousands.
It's been running near continuously for 37 years.
Not to mention the mangas that come out alongside of it, right? I mean,
and the books,
and films, and everything in between, and video games. I mean, it's crazy.
Robots are fucking cool. That's what I'm trying to say.
Giant robots are cool. Tiny, little, small. The ones that can land on your thumb are fucking lame. But big ass ones with big crazy muscles, and I want to talk about the real life big ass one in a little later in this episode.
Oh yeah. Another big one. I don't know. So kind of the heavy tones and like the anachronisms it was hard. But Gundam Wing was the big hit in America on Toonami, and that one had like more fantastical designs. It was still like there was one called Death Scythe, which was a black Gundam with a big metal cloak.
See, that's great.
Literally, like
Edgelord Gundam.
Yeah, it was an Edgelord Gundam. There were different revisions. That was another thing. Is like they would release the hero would get like, fuck this old shit, I got a new one with more guns.
Right.
But that had like a lot of like sad boys, and it was like a little more
emo-y?
It was very much more emo-y.
Was it popular in Japan as well?
It wasn't as popular. It didn't make as much of an impact as it did in America.
Now, why?
Because I think it was just the sad boy tropes, the emo-ness was just like par for the course for that era.
And I think the Japanese people really do appreciate these sort of like deep war kind of sentiments, right? I mean, in a way, like, don't they kind of enjoy that element of it that maybe American audiences just wouldn't be able to hang with?
That's the thing is, why is war bad if we keep winning them, dog?
That's the thing. And that's why all of our action figure superheroes are fucking winners, baby. We always blow it up and beat it up. And that's where we're going to remain, man. Eat a hamburger. Call your local congressman.
America's already great. So that one made a huge impact. That one, I feel like, for an entire generation is kind of was the guy. But there was another series.
Yes.
That
do we get to talk about?
We get to talk about this.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
That also aired on Toonami, and specifically was brought over because it kind of did away with all those like kind of touchy-feely, war-y baddies.
It wiped it all off the face of the map. A lot of people call this series, they don't even consider it a part of the series. It's completely off from what the whole rest of it ever is, in the best way possible, Jake.
G Gundam.
G Gundam, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not
the
looked
G
this
stands
up,
for God damn, this cartoon's fucking nuts.
You know, it was like I was stuck in a mire of research, and I mean, I was enjoying it because it's like something like more academic. Like, I have to learn about this thing. This is an important part of nerd culture that I need to know about. And at the same time, I kind of want to blow my brains out because all of the names of these Gundams have like X's and numbers, and nothing makes sense to me.
Oh, the RX-782?
Right? The RX-782. You got to get the classic RX-782 model. But then I discovered G Gundam, and my whole world turned around. I was like, there it is. That's the Holden McNeely Gundam.
Mobile Fighter G Gundam was a series that kind of did away with the whole Universal Century kind of evil war and kind of created this new bold world where...
blood sport with big robots.
Yeah, where international conflicts and other sort of arguments were dealt with in the arena of international Gundam fights.
It's wonderful, and they definitely got a lot of flack for having some very stereotypical characters. I have a list of the robots here.
Oh, okay.
If you want to kind of go through these, so each nation got their own robot, and I ask you people at home, if you are near a phone or a computer, of course you're near a phone or a computer, you're listening to a podcast. You know what? If you're not near a phone or a computer and you're listening to a podcast, please write in and let us know how you did it, you fucking crazy magician. I'm going to give you a list, but I want you to look these up because the picture speaks louder than words, ladies and gentlemen. These are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful robot designs. Let's start off with our own boy, our American Gundam Maxter. He is a cowboy / boxer / quarterback / surfer Gundam. Kind of got it all going for him. He's probably holding like a big hot dog and making out with a chick with fake tits.
He literally, you have to understand that. He literally has a football face guard.
Yes.
Yeah. And shoulder pads.
Yes.
And, yeah. It's from the nation of Neo America.
Yes, everything's Neo. It's all Neo America and Neo Mexico. And let's talk about Neo Mexico. Might be my favorite Gundam on this list, the Tequila Gundam.
Oh,
which
what? Could you just let me just look that up because if I remember correctly,
he's wearing a sombrero and has a metal mustache. They changed his name to Spike Gundam for the English dub because of worries that it was maybe sort of racist to call him Tequila Gundam.
He has like a little bit of a all metal poncho over the right
Yes,
over the left arm and cactus guards.
Yes, I didn't know that's a cactus.
A agave, if we're going by tequila. A fucking the idea of just like actual like metal workers like putting the rivets on a fucking metal sombrero.
The Nether Gundam, which is the Neo Holland robot, it turns into a big windmill, and I'm not sure how that can be used in fighting. I don't get it.
It was part of a I think in that I'm getting weird. I think it was the windmills are just kind of in the background, and then shit got real, and they initiated like the Omega Belgium Defense Force, and it turns out all the windmills sprout arms and legs, and they're ready to fight.
Jake, I have to see this. Where can I find this? Just steal it. Would you steal a car, Jake?
I would. I bet you can find this on Hulu or Crunchyroll or anything.
I can't wait to go home and watch this after this. Zebra Gundam, which is Neo Kenya's.
Ooh! Now, if you thought the Mexican Gundam was a little offensive. You have not seen a giant robot loincloth.
And we ask our listeners to go on the Facebook page, which will probably happen at some point. And really, I'd love to see a ranking, your own personal ranking of most offensive to least offensive. The Zebra Gundam has zebra heads on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. There's also Neo France's Gundam Rose, which is wearing a Napoleon hat. We've got is that Mandela? It's Mandela Gundam is Neo Nepal. It's a giant prayer bell, and the for the bottom half, and it pops out of the prayer bell like a Jack in the Box. There's Matador Gundam, which please look up Matador Gundam. It's Neo Spain's Gundam. I'm sorry, Jake. Did you pull up a picture of one of the earlier ones? I'm kind of running through them fast.
Oh, well, this Malaysia has the Skull Gundam, which is just literally a big Halloween skull with like a guy's with a head and arms sticking out of it.
It looks like, what's his name? The final boss of Mega Man.
It looks like a Dr. Wily contraption.
Dr. Wily castle.
Actually, I'm looking at it on your phone from across the room, and to me it looks like a big pig head.
Yeah, it does look like, because it's got like kind of a protruding.
The horrors of war.
I love Neo Denmark has the Mermaid Gundam.
Yeah.
Now that's a robot wearing a fish suit, which is unbelievable. A robot wearing a robotic fish suit that is completely useless if you get him outside of the water. So the trick to him is just don't get in the water and he'll die pretty much immediately.
Again, someone like in the universe, someone had to weld robot flippers. Which that's one of the key things is in any given situation, the idea of using a bipedal robot to accomplish any of the things that are happening in this show is ludicrous. They're top heavy. They're like the joints are easy to like fall apart.
Right?
so like they even have jetpacks and they just fly around, proving how useless the legs are.
Well, I was going to get to this later, but they did come up with a bit of an answer to that in G Gundam with Fun Psyche, which is a horse Gundam. And much like how people pilot the robot man Gundams, do you know where this is going? The horse Gundam is piloted by a horse. And it's my favorite thing ever. I can't believe they did that, and I just love it so much.
That was the other thing I remember from G Gundam is they got rid of the whole like cockpit, like levers and pedals and switches, and it was this incredibly sexualized process that they reused from episode to episode. Kind of, you know how like Sailor Moon always had like those like swooping close up like body shots. Mm-hmm. So in this one, the main hero and every other pilot would get laminated in this thick black rubber tarp, and it would snap off all over their body in like skin tight lycra, neoprene, and they would just like physically punch and kick like it was a bad Connect game to fight. I guess kind of like Pacific Rim.
Yeah, but they were working machines.
Yeah,
a little bit. Can you guess what Neo Canada's Gundam?
Oh, jeez.
Neo Canada.
I'm going to say a moose.
No, it's a lumber Gundam. It's got axes for arms.
He had axes for arms.
And I'll close out with on the G Gundam robots with another personal favorite of mine for Neo Egypt. Can you guess it?
Is it literally just a big pyramid?
Mummy Gundam. Mummy Gundam. Mumdum. They should have called it Mumdum. I should be writing for that damn show. I would love to write a revival, like a reboot of G Gundam. That would be like the greatest thing in the world that could happen to me, and just completely make it ridiculous. I love anything that just heavily stereotypes people, especially Japanese things that heavily stereotype people, because they stereotype people the best of any nation ever. They have the best stereotypes. Like the way that they capture American culture. It's just like, oh, I'm a cowboy eating hamburger.
I'm a football cowboy hamburger.
Football cowboy hamburger surfer. Yeah, they love their style. So I just have to take a second to appreciate that.
Yeah, well, actually, the Japanese do find stereotypes very funny. We actually, our Om Shinrikyo episode on Last Podcast on the Left, which is about a Japanese death cult, it was huge in Japan.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it because they do the same thing to us. Like, we do the Japanese stereotypes, and they do the same, like, hamburger, fuck you.
So great. And I love that, you know? I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like, for me personally, like, I enjoy being stereotyped.
As a Jew, I would prefer.
Yeah, it's the thing. I got nothing. I'm like not religious. I have no cultural anything. So if anybody's like, "Oh, Four Eyes masturbates to video games," I'm like, "You got me." Now, I will say I was very, very impressed by this. I'd heard about this actually. It's one of the few Gundam things I had heard about, just completely disconnected from Gundam. But they actually made a real life, true size of actual full-size Gundam robot and placed it in front of this mall in Japan.
Yep.
It's pretty unbelievable.
That's the thing, is a big thing in Gundam model building is the ratio represents like difficulty and expense. So like when I was it's actually like kind of peaceful. It's kind of nice. Like everything snaps into place. You get everything in like sheets of plastic and you have to snap off all the parts.
I'm like super interested in getting one of those like Gundam toys.
It's oddly zen. I haven't done it in well over a decade. But
I'm a big Lego fan, so I mean I totally get that zen. I totally get, because that's what it's all about. You just put on some soothing music or like a show that you like, but you've seen 1,000 times, and you just kind of do your thing. You just slowly put together, create something.
When all is said and done, you got a sweet robot.
There it is.
So this was not 1:25 ratio. This was a 1:1 model of the original Gundam design.
35 tons, standing 18 meters tall, or 59 feet for you stupid Americans. First completed in 2009, displayed for a month at the Gundam Front Tokyo, which is the giant mall in Tokyo, before it was taken down, but it had attracted, in 1 month, it had attracted 4.5 million visitors.
I just like the idea of just a little sign that's like, please stop sacrificing animals to the, this is not a god.
It's really quite impressive. And again, if you're home, and I know you're by a phone or a computer, so don't fucking try to lie to me about it. Look up this giant masterpiece of a robot model that is taller than a building or as tall as a building. Yeah, and what was so great about this place too is it houses the Gundam Front Tokyo Gundam Museum, which is very impressive. It holds 1,000 Gunpla. Is it Gunpla?
It's Gunpla. It's a combination of Gundam and plastic, which represents kind of the model building.
Yes.
The specific, like the sheets of plastic with the snap-off parts.
Yes.
Which is huge, which is a very vibrant culture. There's custom figures. There's, people.
It's unbelievable.
The same way with Lego master builders, or any other kind of craft, people go ape shit. There's for Gunpla.
It's really crazy, just I looked online a little bit, kind of sifted around. Apparently the Gundam Fix series is the most popular. It's very customizable, but the real fancy one is the Metal Build Gundam line of toys. And a quick search on that, they were ranging from anywhere from $300 to $1,000 and beyond. It was really something else. I couldn't believe it.
That's you don't got no kids to take care of. Spend that money
what
on
you
cool
gonna
robots.
do? Yeah, if you're in Japan and you're riding on a subway train that forces you to be separate from women, you got to do something.
Only a few lines. It's not. Hold on. I want to ask you, if you had to design a custom robot in your dream scenario, what's your loadout? What is your rig? I want to know what your robot fantasy is.
Neo Hawaii. Okay. And it's gonna have a big pineapple for a head, all right, and it's gonna vomit money, because it's a big tourist industry. It's gonna have a what is it called, the
lei?
The lei. It's gonna have a lei. I was trying to say it luau. It's gonna have a lei, but it can take that off and use it as a whip, an electric whip, right, and then sling it around its neck. Its belly opens up and it's just a pig roasting in there. Right? Just, doesn't do anything, just loves to show it off whenever it's like standing over its defeated victim, And for legs, golf clubs.
Oh, because obviously how these things actually walk and navigate the world never really mattered that much.
Not at all. How about you, Jake?
I've always had the fantasy, specifically in relation to Gundam, of just getting a hold of one of like the Zakus, which is the Foot Clan jabroniest of the jabroni models. Like they appear all over the place. They have a very iconic look with like this tube mouth and like a single cyclops eye. They're squat, they're green, they look dumb. They look kind of dumb. And I just want to pilot one of those because in a real world scenario, it would be fucking terrifying. Just the weakest, dumbest Gundam model ever. And I'd just be like, I got a laser cannon. Give me Mexico. I want it.
I think if you wanted my honest answer, it'd probably be Asuka's Gundam from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Just because.
Oh, the
red
big red one.
Yeah.
Evangelion wouldn't exist without Gundam.
Not at all.
The very idea of just like the timid young pilot that like is asked to navigate to. It's basically a giant puberty metaphor where this bright-eyed kid is all of a sudden asked to take on these intense responsibilities while piloting this large, cumbersome body that he's unfamiliar with. It's super about getting your ball hairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think the world needs it. And so as little as I understand it, I would say, God bless you, Gundam. Let's another 10 years, Gundam. 10 more years, Gundam.
More lasers, more robots, more war, more terror. I'm serious about Gundam Thunderbolt. It fucking rocks.
I'm going to have to check it out. That and G Gundam is definitely on my list. Definitely on my list. Well, there you have it. This has been another episode of The Bruiser and the Wizard.
I'm the Bruiser.
And I'm the Wizard. And some like to call me a lizard. I think it actually might be the Wizard and the Bruiser. We're still working out the name, though. We'll figure it out.
We appreciate your patronage.
We'll do that fun thing where we keep changing it every time, the order, and you'll be really confused because you won't know where to find it because we'll always put it out under a different title.
Follow me on Twitter at BestJakeYoung. I have opinions about things.
And follow me on Twitter at Holdenators, and I am also on Twitch under Holdenators Ho. Yes, that's
incredibly watchable streams, and I say that as someone that has seen a lot of bullshit people try and play video games.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And catch me on PlayStation Network as well. Catcher6945. I only say that because I need more people on my Overwatch crew.
And go to cavecomedyradio.com for more great shows like this.
For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to cavecomedyradio.com.